FBI Director Kash Patel went on Fox News and said the sheriff kept the FBI out for 4 days. The sheriff fired back, the FBI was there day one. And then revealed something stunning: he has never met or spoken to the head of the FBI. Not once. In 6 months. Meanwhile, the first ransom note has been read publicly for the first time. Hello Savannah. We have your mother Nancy. And the case has quietly been reclassified as a homicide probe. Before we go any further, if you are watching this because you want the facts, not the speculation, not the clickbait, not the enhanced audio that nobody authenticated, hit subscribe right now. Crime Collective Files covers active investigations with the forensic detail they deserve. Every video is built on verified sources and confirmed timelines. This case is still moving. On July 23, 2026, FBI Director Kash Patel told Fox News Digital that the Pima County Sheriff's Department kept the FBI out of the Nancy Guthrie investigation for 4 days, and that the delay may have resulted in the loss of crucial video evidence from Nancy's Google Nest home security camera. That is the FBI director. On the record. Publicly accusing the lead sheriff in this investigation of losing critical evidence through a delay in federal involvement. Sheriff Chris Nanos fired back. He called Patel misinformed and revealed something that stopped the conversation cold: he has never met or spoken to the head of the FBI. Not once. In 6 months. Nanos disputed Patel's 4-day claim directly: they were there day one just as my team was. He said Patel likely heard inaccurate information early on, and warned, when inaccurate information is put out, it hurts the case. 2 of the most senior law enforcement officials in the Nancy Guthrie investigation, fighting publicly, on the record, about who had access to what and when. The director of the FBI and the sheriff of Pima County have never spoken. And the fight between them has become its own development in a case that already had more questions than answers. Then, in the same week, the first ransom note was publicly read for the first time, on a true crime podcast, after 5 months of the FBI and the sheriff keeping its contents private. Hello Savannah. We have your mother Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. And the case, which investigators have described since February as a kidnapping, has been quietly reclassified. The case now remains an active investigation, classified as a homicide probe, with no suspect publicly named. 6 months. No arrest. No confirmed location. The 2 agencies leading the investigation fighting publicly about who did what and when. And a family that has not stopped asking for answers. This is where the Nancy Guthrie case stands on the 6-month mark. Nancy Ellen Long was born January 27, 1942, in Fort Wright, Kentucky. She was 84 years old when she disappeared. She had lived in Tucson, Arizona for more than 5 decades, raising 3 children, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron. She worked at the University of Arizona for nearly 2 decades. She was a churchgoer, attending a virtual service with a close friend every Sunday without fail. She was mentally sharp. Independent. She lived alone in her home in the Catalina foothills, in the shadow of the Santa Catalina Mountains. She required a cardiac pacemaker. She needed daily medication she could not go without. Her husband Charles died in 1988 at 49 years old during a mining exploration trip in Mexico. Nancy raised 3 children on her own after that. She built a life in Tucson that was full and present and community-centered, the kind of woman whose close friend noticed the moment she didn't appear for Sunday church. On January 31, 2026, she went to dinner with her daughter Annie and son-in-law Tommaso Cioni. Tommaso drove her home. Nancy was last seen by her son-in-law Tommaso Cioni on the night of January 31, when he dropped her off at her Tucson, Arizona home. He watched to make sure she got inside safely. The garage door closed at 9:48 p.m. The next morning, she failed to appear for Sunday church. Her friend called. Annie's family arrived. Deputies followed. Nancy Guthrie was gone. Authorities continue to believe she was taken against her will, and the investigation remains active. Tommaso Cioni drove Nancy home on January 31st. That single fact made him the last known person to see her alive. And it made him the target of speculation that lasted weeks, damaged his reputation, and forced his family behind no trespassing signs. Tommaso is 50 years old. Italian-born. A 6th grade science and biology teacher at Basis Oro Valley School in Tucson. He and Annie have one child together. He writes poetry. He has lived in Tucson since 2006. On February 4th, Ashley Banfield reported on her podcast that her sources described Tommaso as the prime suspect. She used the word musings. The word suspect spread across every platform without the qualifier. The entire family has been cleared as suspects in the baffling case. Sheriff Nanos issued that clearance on February 16, unambiguous, on the record. All immediate family members and spouses. Formally eliminated. All family members passed polygraph examinations, confirmed March 17, flying colors. Every one of them. When asked whether anyone has been ruled out, Nanos said investigators may deprioritize individuals but remain open to revisiting leads. Nobody's really ever eliminated, he said. But that statement applies to the investigation's general posture, not to the family, whose clearance has been formally stated and has never been revised. Tommaso Cioni drove his mother-in-law home. Watched the garage door close. Drove away. That is the complete documented record of his involvement. He is not a suspect. He has never been a suspect in any official capacity. The forensic record of January 31st is the most verified element of this case. Every detail is confirmed by physical evidence, electronic data, or official law enforcement statements. 9:48 p.m., garage door closes. Tommaso drives away. 1:47 a.m., doorbell camera goes offline. A masked suspect had already approached the front door, tilted his head to avoid the lens, and covered the camera with foliage from a potted plant near the entrance. Not smashed. Covered. Because he needed Nancy to open the door. Kash Patel said one of the FBI's biggest breakthroughs came after investigators worked with Google to recover cached footage from Nancy's Nest doorbell camera, video that was never intended to be stored long-term and was reportedly on the verge of being permanently lost. That recovery, working with Google to pull cached footage, is what Patel later claimed was nearly lost because of the 4-day delay in FBI involvement. That claim is at the center of the public dispute between Patel and Nanos. 2:12 a.m., motion detected at the property by a separate sensor. 2:28 a.m., Nancy's cardiac pacemaker signal is lost. She was no longer in range. She had been removed from her home. Blood confirmed as Nancy's was found on the front porch. The FBI released images on February 10th. A male suspect. 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches. Dark mustache. Black gloves. Ozark Trail 25L backpack, Walmart exclusive. What appeared to be a holstered firearm. Investigators confirmed 2 surveillance dates, January 11th and January 24th, at which the suspect is believed to have visited the neighborhood in advance. Someone had been watching. The sheriff also confirmed investigators are using familial genealogy as part of the investigation and said it is possible the person responsible is still in the Tucson, Arizona area. For 5 months, the exact words of the first ransom note were kept from the public. Law enforcement held them privately. The family knew. Investigators knew. The rest of the world was told the note existed, demanded Bitcoin, and contained insider details. Then on July 22, 2026, former Arizona reporter Brianna Whitney appeared on the Crime Junkie podcast with host Ashley Flowers. Whitney, who had covered the case while working for Phoenix television station KTVK-TV before joining Crime Junkie in May, read the note aloud for the first time publicly. Hello Savannah. We have your mother Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. The note demanded $4 million in Bitcoin by 5 p.m. on February 5, increasing to $6 million if unpaid by February 9. Whitney noted the letter demanded payment in USD, US dollars. Typically, if you're from here, you don't say that, Whitney pointed out, suggesting someone potentially unfamiliar with how Americans phrase financial demands. The note also referenced 2 specific details never made public: a white smartwatch found near Nancy's bed, and a destroyed floodlight in her backyard, details investigators have said only someone with knowledge of the scene could have known. Whitney also read from a second note. It claimed the kidnappers had underestimated Nancy's health, that she had died shortly after being taken. The second note described Nancy as buried with nature now. Whitney said she had hoped the information would have been released by the FBI or the Pima County Sheriff's Department, which has not held a news conference since the early days of the disappearance. She said she thought it was beneficial for the public to know what was said. And she noted, all official and credible information should be coming from them. A Crime Junkie spokesperson confirmed the podcast did not publish copies of the documents, and the authenticity of the notes has not been independently verified. But the words are now in the public record. The first ransom note being read publicly happened in the same week as one of the most visible institutional disputes in this investigation. Because the question of whether the ransom notes are real has never been more publicly complicated than it was in the last week of July 2026. Early on July 1, FBI Director Kash Patel was asked to confirm Reuters' coverage of the notes being fake and refused to respond. Hours later, at 6:45 p.m., the FBI Phoenix office's X account addressed the viral report with an official statement. That statement read, "The FBI and its task force partners have received several ransom notes over the course of this investigation. Some have been deemed to be extortion attempts without legitimacy. Other ransom demands may potentially be legitimate and are still being investigated as such. This case continues to be investigated as a kidnapping for ransom case." A California man named Derek Anthony Colella, 42, of Hawthorne, pleaded guilty on July 2 to 2 felony counts of harassment using a telecommunications device, for sending fraudulent ransom messages to Nancy Guthrie and her husband Tommaso Cioni on February 4. He had used a voice-over Internet Protocol application to mask his identity. A federal judge ordered him to complete inpatient substance abuse treatment ahead of sentencing. Despite Colella's conviction, federal authorities made clear, other ransom demands in the 5-month-old disappearance case may still be legitimate. The FBI's Wednesday statement was unambiguous on one point: the investigation has not shifted categories. This case continues to be investigated as a kidnapping for ransom case. Veteran crime scene investigator Cheryl McCullum appeared on News Nation on July 1 and called the handling of the case so botched, citing specifically the absence of the family and law enforcement on the same podium. "You have not seen Savannah and her family on the same podium as the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff. They should have been standing together, making statements, from day one." She called the apparent lack of unified communication a really sad sign that investigators are not on the same page. Drop your location in the comments right now. Where in the world are you watching this from? This case is being followed from every time zone, and that visibility matters. Every comment keeps this investigation on people's radar. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because when this case breaks, you will want to be here for it. This is the development that broke through in the final days of July 2026. And it deserves its own chapter because it represents something that does not often happen in high-profile federal investigations: the 2 lead agencies fighting publicly about who did what and when. On July 23, Kash Patel told Fox News Digital that the delay from local authorities may have resulted in the loss of video evidence from Nancy's Google Nest home security camera. Patel also told the media that local authorities sent evidence to a private lab in Florida rather than the FBI's facility at Quantico, a move he believes cost valuable time. Sheriff Nanos responded in an interview with podcast host Wyatt Sharp, details shared with News Nation. He disputed every point. "I just think he's misinformed," Nanos said. His detailed account: "Our detectives were called in after our search and rescue team recognized what they had, contacted our investigative teams. They immediately contacted the Violent Crime Task Force and their representatives were there. They processed that scene early the next day. The very next day, within hours of that scene processing, I held a press conference." The obvious implication is that on February 3, 2026, less than 4 days after Nancy went missing, FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge John Edwards stood beside Sheriff Nanos at a press conference and said publicly, "We want the community to know that the FBI is doing everything in our power to bring Nancy Guthrie home to her family." Nanos also revealed he has never met or spoken to Kash Patel. Not once. In 6 months. He called that fact significant given how much national attention this case has drawn. Nanos warned that when inaccurate information is released publicly, it hurts the case. 2 men. The top of 2 agencies. Fighting about the first 4 days of an investigation that is now in its 7th month. And they have never been in the same room. This is the development that received the least coverage relative to its significance. The Nancy Guthrie case remains an active investigation, now classified as a homicide probe, with no suspect publicly named. That classification shift, from kidnapping investigation to homicide probe, represents a formal investigative assessment. It means law enforcement has reached an internal threshold of belief about what happened to Nancy Guthrie. It does not mean an arrest is imminent. It does not mean a body has been found. It does not change the investigation's active status. But it does mean investigators are no longer operating primarily under the assumption that Nancy is alive and may be recovered. Sheriff Nanos, when asked whether he believes Nancy is dead, said, "Where's the benefit in my believing she's dead when there's no proof of her death in front of me?" He confirmed, "It is not cold." That careful phrasing, "no proof of her death in front of me," is not the same as saying she is alive. It is a sheriff describing his investigative posture in the absence of confirmed physical evidence, while the case is simultaneously classified as a homicide probe. Former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffin-Daffer, on July 17, posted a side-by-side comparison on X of Nancy's disappearance and that of Thelma Gaston, an 80-year-old millionaire who went missing 40 years ago. Gaston's remains were only recently identified near Sugarloaf Mountain through advanced DNA testing. Coffin-Daffer wrote, "This is exactly why searches need to be conducted for Nancy." She urged investigators to expand ground searches into remote desert terrain, update billboards with suspect imagery, and increase the reward. Kash Patel said one of the FBI's biggest breakthroughs came after investigators worked with Google to recover cached footage from Nancy's Google Nest doorbell camera, video that was never intended to be stored long-term and was reportedly on the verge of being permanently lost. Patel's claim, this footage nearly wasn't recovered because the FBI wasn't involved early enough to make the Google request in time. Nanos's counter, the FBI was there from day one. Their involvement in the early scene processing is documented by the February 3rd press conference, 2 days after the investigation began. What both men agree on implicitly, the Google Nest footage is significant. It is the footage that shows the masked suspect approaching the door, covering the camera, and the sequence of events that took 41 minutes to complete. That footage, recovered from Google's cached servers, is among the most important pieces of physical evidence in the case. The fact that its recovery was apparently not automatic, that it required FBI involvement and a direct request to Google, tells you something about how close investigators came to losing it entirely. Whether the 4-day delay claim is accurate or not, the footage exists. It is in the record. It shows the suspect. And it has been the public face of this investigation since February 10, when the FBI released the images. Sheriff Nanos confirmed the FBI has taken the lead on Ransom communications. All the Ransom stuff we've given to the FBI, they're the experts on that. It would be very inappropriate for me to comment on something that I told them to do. 6 months after the suspected kidnapping of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the investigation remains active, with DNA and digital evidence analysis still underway. Here is every confirmed, active thread as of July 31, 2026. DNA, mixed biological material, including a hair sample, recovered from inside Nancy's residence has been at the FBI laboratory for analysis since May. The Cody's database returned no match on the DNA profile from the black glove found 2 miles from the property. Investigative genetic genealogy through Parabon Nanolabs is underway. The sheriff confirmed investigators are using familial genealogy as part of the investigation. The suspect captured on doorbell camera footage remains unidentified. Male. 5 foot 9 inch, 5'10". Dark mustache. Possible tattoo on the right wrist. The Ozark Trail 25L backpack sold exclusively at Walmart was publicly identified. The firearm was assessed by behavioral analysts as potentially a prop. The reward stands at $1.2 million. $1 million from the Guthrie family. $100,000 from the FBI. $102,500 from Crime Stoppers. Authorities are offering $1.2 million combined to anyone who provides information that leads to her recovery. The investigation remains active with no arrests announced. The ransom note question remains publicly unresolved. Some notes confirmed as fake. Others described by the FBI as potentially legitimate and still being investigated as such. The first note's text is now in the public record. Read on Crime Junkie on July 22. The case is classified as a homicide probe. Nanos says it is not cold. The FBI and the sheriff are publicly disagreeing about the first 4 days. Nanos said the same investigative team has worked on the case since the beginning and still meets daily. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 181 days. The Today Show aired a segment on July 6, 2026, with Savannah Guthrie covering an unrelated missing persons story, which sparked public backlash. That moment, Savannah sitting at the Today desk covering someone else's missing family member while her own mother's case produced no arrest and no answer, captured the public's attention in a way that went viral. It is not a criticism of Savannah's professionalism. Returning to work is what she was asked to do, what she chose to do, what grief sometimes demands. But it was visible. And it generated a reaction that reflected how personally the public has taken this case. Savannah's most recent public statement was from July 1. It is 5 months of agony and unending trauma for our family. There is not a moment that goes by that we aren't actively trying to find our mom. She asked the public to keep calling in tips. She thanked the people of Tucson for holding Nancy in their hearts. And she has said the one thing about this investigation that is both the most honest and the most painful: she may already be gone, but we are blowing on the embers of hope. That phrase, blowing on the embers of hope, is what 6 months of no answers, no arrest, and a reclassification to homicide probe looks like from the inside of a family living it. Here is what the 6-month record shows. Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home in the Catalina foothills of Tucson on the night of January 31, 2026. The forensic markers of that night are confirmed and documented. A masked suspect planned this for months, conducted surveillance in January, and executed a 41-minute operation that produced blood on the front porch and a pacemaker signal that went silent at 2:28 a.m. The ransom notes, however many are real and however many are fake, confirmed that someone tried to extract money from this family using specific insider knowledge of the property. Whether they were the person who took Nancy, or opportunists who exploited the story, is the central unresolved question the FBI is still working. The DNA is in the laboratory. The genetic genealogy is underway. The sheriff says the suspect may still be in Tucson. The FBI and the sheriff are publicly disagreeing about the first 4 days, a dispute that has introduced new complexity into a case that already had too many unanswered questions. The FBI director has never spoken to the sheriff. That fact alone tells you something about how this investigation has been managed. The case is now classified as a homicide probe. No body has been found. No suspect has been publicly named. No arrest has been made. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffin-Daffer has urged expanded ground searches, updated billboards, and an increased reward. The reward remains at $1.2 million. The tip lines remain open. The investigation remains active. If you know anything about what happened to Nancy Guthrie, call the FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Call the Pima County Sheriff, 520-351-4900. The tip is anonymous. The reward is real. And the person who covered that doorbell camera with a leaf from a potted plant at 1:47 a.m. on February 1, 2026, is still out there. Nanos said it best, "It is not cold." Nancy Guthrie deserves to come home.